Hey, Doug, welcome to the Z Learning Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Hopefully, the Tommy Bahama vibes that you bring can warm us up on this cold, snowy day here in New York. So tell me, Doug, what was it like taking over as CEO of such an iconic brand, Tommy Bahama? I would imagine that would add an element of pressure, maybe high expectations. How would you describe your early years as CEO at Tommy Bahama when you took over in 2001?
Actually, I came in 2001 as COO, and that was a much different company back then, Zeb. It was a founder-led company that was a men's wholesale company first. About 90% of our businesses selling men's sportswear to Nordstrom and specialty stores around the country. And, we've transformed a lot since then. We sold the company in 2003 to Oxford Industry, became a public company, which is a whole nother story unto itself. And then in 2008, I was made president. And that was also at the time when the big recession happened. And we did a giant pivot as an organization and really started focus on the direct to guest business. So stores, our e-commerce business, our restaurants, and that really changed us dramatically from where we were before. And it's kind of the same path we've been on. I took over in 2015 as CEO from Terry Pillow, and so I'm in my 24th year, and with regards to pressure, I think really the pressure really comes from just meeting the expectation of our guest. Our guest has a very high bar for what they expect from Tommy Bahama. I love the challenge of that and trying to figure out what to deliver, classic great guest service with great quality and well-designed product, with a happy smile. I mean, that's the story of Tommy Bahama right there.
Absolutely. There's always a great vibe, relaxed, with Tommy Bahama. I think that's in the perception. I think that also comes out in the customer service and, of course, in the clothing. Now, I know one of the early things you did in your tenure, CEO, was transform the company from being mostly about wholesale to being focused primarily on retail. You're also the CEO who took the brand from being, I believe, only or mostly brick and mortar to selling online. And I read it was a lot of the impetus for that was in the 2008 recession. And you built a really strong e-commerce customer base. And I know that today, e-commerce accounts for about 20% of the company's sales, at least as of last year, 2023. As a digital marketer, someone who sells a lot online, curious, how did you navigate that transition?
You know, um, we launched in October of 2007, and it's funny to think back to those days because in a lot of ways we were all kind of learning what this new digital space was all about. And I held firm to this idea that at that point I was being told a lot of things that candidly are wrong now, and I was resistant to follow any model. I looked at it as, hey, let e-commerce become whatever it's going to be. It doesn't have to be the biggest store. It doesn't have to be a marketing tool, and it does. So I purposely kept it away from our other business units who were telling me, no, this is something that should just be an extension of us. And I think that really led us to some really great learnings. And because I think the truth of the matter is that it is by far the most powerful channel we have today for reaching people. And even if they're not making their final shopping decision there, they're researching you there. And I think it also led me to, whether I'm right or not, this is kind of how I look at the world. I don't believe I have a store guest or an e-commerce guest. I just have a guest. And, our challenge is to um, wherever, however that guest wants to interact with us, I need to make that as seamless as possible. And so whether they shop online or in stores or even with a wholesaler, I just have to figure out how to make that feel and always be something that they say, yeah, that's why I come to Tommy Bahama. They do it right.
Amazing. And I think this is a great segue. You said the word guest, and I think that's what Tommy Bahama really does. I think it has this great customer service that I think helps people kind of relax, get into that vacation mindset, and you kind of help make that come out, whether it's in their in-store or in the brick and mortar e-commerce. Besides being an incredible beach life, tropical getaway lifestyle clothing, some of which I read is even hand painted. Tommy Bahama, I think anyone who knows it would agree, is more than just a clothing brand. It's kind of a lifestyle, exudes an ethos of joie de vivre, being a bon vivant, if I pronounce that correctly. And I think personally, as a marketer, I think that's why part of why Tommy Bahama was able to expand beyond clothing and apparel into other things like restaurants and hospitality. You might find this a weird comparison, but I almost think it's similar to companies like Apple, who went from, just going beyond computers to making cell phones and other things. And I think that's a testament to creating a solid brand identity. I think when you have a great brand, you're not limited to one type of product, service, or industry. I'm wondering in the beginning when Tommy Bahama made, restaurants and things like Marlin Bar. I've been to the one many times in Manhattan. Were there skeptics wondering why a clothing brand is now opening restaurants? And in your opinion, how did Tommy Bahama pull it off so well? And what is some advice you'd give to companies who are trying to build larger than life brands that will enable them to seamlessly expand into other industries?
Wow. Well, hey, I think that the first thing is that it takes time. It takes a very clear vision of what do you stand for and how are you going to do business. And with us, I have a very clear mission and vision of how we manage and run the company. We have a very set group of values. First thing in the values is make big ideas happen. These values are like these guardrails to every decision that we make, because we had opportunities to go a lot of different directions as a company and a brand, like I think a lot of people do. I think especially when you start having some success, doors start opening, and you have to come up with decisions of, okay, why am I going to walk through that door and not this other door over here? And because you're always limited on resources, you're always worried about, okay, where's this going to take us? Is this, and so those. I think having very clear, vision and mission of, hey, we wanted to be an island inspired lifestyle brand that it took people someplace great and allowed them to relax. When you start running all these ideas and opportunities through that lens, you start to really weed out some. There's some things that, I just don't want to do it there. That doesn't feel like us. That isn't what we're about. And I think that we're in our 31st year. Our guests has come to trust us. And so, that trust is something that I hold really sacred. And when it comes to any one of our products, and products aren't just clothes, it's like what's going on in the menu in the restaurant. How we just opened up a resort. Is that level of customer service in the resort, is that meeting up to our expectations? And even if it isn't today, how do I get it to where it needs to be? And so those are all the things, Zeb, that we think about, we talk about internally. And then, it's about execution. And I can't stress this enough. Words are only words. It's really actions and planning. And I'm an operations guy at heart, and knowing that I have a repeatable action in the field that I can rely upon, so I can deliver something over and over and over again so that the guests, when they come in, hey, I know what it's going to be like because this is Tommy Bahama. They do it the right way, you know. So those are all the things I think that have led us to, you know, being around for now in our 31st year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, there's a lot of companies where there's a big gap, unfortunately, between their marketing and then kind of the experience. What I admire about Tommy Bahama and other brands like Disney and whatever, there's an attention to every little detail, from the way the people in the store talk to you, to the layout, to the colors, to all the decisions, the drinks in the restaurant. It all kind of ties back to that cohesive brand experience that you expect. So Tommy Bahama has always communicated its brand message of relaxation, the luxury of leisure time through a distinctive restaurant and retail experience. I know long before the restaurant retail movement became a marketing trend in the industry, Tommy Bahama has been committed to presenting a combined dining and shopping concept as a way to communicate the brand's live the island life message. And I know you've had a lot of success with Marlin Bar. Please tell my listeners or viewers a little bit about your new Miramonte hotel in Indian Wells, California. Would love to learn more about that and how that came about.
Yeah, you know, it started out right when I took over as CEO. I did these focus groups around the country, and they were fantastic. We brought in guests in 14 different markets, and then we brought in people that we thought should be our guests, but we didn't see them shopping with us, so we talked to them. And at the end of each one of the meetings, I would always ask the same question. I'm like, so what would you like to see us do next? And every 14 different markets, they said, well, why don't you guys open a resort? You know, we've been at your restaurant. We know what you can do from a guest service standpoint. What could you do in a resort? And what would that look like? And so that really started us on this journey of, one, learning about what does it mean to run a resort. I mean, restaurants are hard enough. I mean, restaurants are so hard.
Yeah.
Um, Resorts are harder. And, you know, I always describe the experience of Tommy Bahama is that, you know, when someone comes into a retail store, I might get like 15 minutes of their time. A restaurant, I get like an hour and a half. But if you screw, if a button falls off your shirt, you might come back, okay? But if you give them a bad meal, they're not probably coming back. Now, if I wreck your vacation, you're not only not coming back, you're telling everybody what a terrible thing you did. And so getting this right was our first challenge, and then just finding the right spot in the country, and that's hard because first of all, I know what are like, hey, Florida, California, Arizona, Hawaii. I mean, these are big pockets of our business, but then finding the right resort, oh my God, so hard. Either you're too big, too small, not in the right spot. No, that's not going to be nice enough. That we can't execute that. So this took years to find, all the right things coming together. And we found this resort that needed a refresh. I had actually stayed there like 20 years ago. I knew it. It's on 11 acres. It's 210 rooms. It has a spa, has a beautiful pool, has a restaurant. And once we started really looking at it, and then we found that the owner, hey, he got it. They understood, our partners understood what we were trying to execute. And so, once you found the right group to work with, that kind of led us down this path. And, we opened up and at the end of October of 2023. It's come out really strong. And I couldn't be prouder of all the work and effort that people have put into it. But we're still learning. I mean, every day, we look at this and say, we should be doing this, or this, this could be better. And it's something that I believe wholeheartedly that, hey, look, I would love to have 5, 10 Tommy Bahama resorts, but if the first one isn't great, you only get one. You don't get to have the second one. And so we are going to make sure that the Tommy Bahama Miramonte is great, and that way, when our guest shows up, they're not disappointed, and they have a great experience, and they'll tell people. And they'll want us to have another one. So that's kind of the whole story of how it got there.
Amazing. And I know that when people are shopping for the clothes, they also might decide, hey, I want to get something to eat in the restaurant, or they go to restaurant, they go shopping, whatever the order usually is. As you find there's a lot of cross promotion now with the hotel, the resort, versus the restaurant and the clothing store. Do a lot of the people go to the hotel also buy the clothes and vice versa?
You know, they do, and but what we try to do is, hey, look, nothing's worse in my mind than I'm going to a nice restaurant and you're trying to sell me a shirt, okay? Or if I'm in my hotel room, I feel like I'm getting advertisements thrown in my face. Now, this is going to be a relaxing, casual experience that is upscale. Okay, well, those three things don't usually go together. Well, that's what this is, and it's our guest. I always describe, hey, what should this be like? And it's like, hey, look, when I stay at a Ritz-Carlton, I'm uncomfortable to walk across the lobby in a t-shirt and a pair of swim trunks and flip-flops. I just am. I'm not going to feel comfortable doing that. You should feel comfortable walking around Tommy Bahama, wherever, dressed, casually, if you're going to the pool, if you're going to the bar to grab a drink. But at the same time, just because I'm dressed casually doesn't mean I don't want great service. It doesn't mean I don't want to be taken care of, and met with that same hospitality you'd see in one of our restaurants or one of our retail stores. And so that's what the whole execution is about. And like I said, if you come into a Tommy Bahama resort, you're already in our house, okay? And so I don't really need, I mean, you can assume I probably could sell you the furniture if you wanted. You can assume that probably that swim is definitely ours, and I can take care of you there. But I'm not going to try to sell you until, hey, you can come look for it, and it won't be hard to find. But I'm not marketing to you as you're staying.
That's great. So you're just giving a lot of value, and I'm sure a lot of people then, of course, want to buy other things. And I think one thing Tommy Bahama does so well across the board, from the restaurant to the resort to the clothing, is kind of combine, as you said, that relaxed, come as you are, escape the rat race with luxury and a first-rate experience. So I guess my last question really is kind of like, what's next? I know that Tommy Bahama is also involved in many wonderful charitable causes, helping victims in Hawaii, and also the Skin Cancer Foundation and other things. What do you think is next for the brand over the next 5, 10 years?
Zeb, I can promise you that we're going to keep expanding our food and beverage. I think that there's more opportunities to with our restaurants to really think about what, hey, where can we take this? I can also tell you that, you know, the idea of what is casual and relaxed, we see the brand can go so many more places, we've got, coming in later this year, a large denim launch for both men's and women's that, is really aimed at, the fall holiday timeframe, but is year round. Denim is wore year round. And I think that, as I've seen in fashion for the last 24 years, is that there's a pendulum of fashion. It moves around. And for the last, gosh, Lululemon brought in athleisure, and the amount of tech clothing that's in the marketplace, it's amazing. But if you really stand back from it, what's happening is they've kind of taken away, denim, premium denim, because now I'm wearing my sweats or my yoga pants. And we think that, that pendulum is coming back, and denim is going to be, bigger than ever. And so we're bringing that in a big way later this year. It's things like that make it really exciting. The brand never sits still. We're always evolving. We do all of our prints and artwork in-house. And why do we do that? And it's like, because we're Tommy Bahama. I'm not following anybody. We're trying to deliver something authentic and fresh and new. And that way our guests, when they come here, it's like, hey, yeah, that's why we always love Tommy Bahama. We know that they're trying to deliver something that's authentic to them. And so, that's going to help us keep on growing and thriving for the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. Like I often say, with a lot of clothing brands, you feel like, oh, I could get that somewhere without that brand name a lot cheaper, or, a simple Hawaiian shirt. But Tommy Bahama is so much more than that. It's like really hand painted and crafted. Some of it, it's like higher quality and it's just beautiful. Like works of art.
Thank
You
you.
don't Very unique. You don't find anywhere else. Thank you so much, Doug, really for being on today. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Zev. Talk to you later.
Look to you later. Bye.
Bye.